All right, I'm sitting here in my beat-up pickup truck, parked on the shoulder of County Road 17, the kind of back road where the pavement's cracked and the lines are faded to ghosts. It's just past midnight, and the dark out there is so thick it feels like it's pressing against my windows. My dashboard lights are flickering, casting this sickly green glow over my hands, which, let me tell you, are still shaking as I record this. I've been putting off telling this story for months, maybe because saying it out loud makes it real, or maybe because I'm scared that whatever I met out here last summer might hear me. But I can't keep it bottled up anymore. What happened to me on this road? It's carved itself into my bones. I'm telling you this in the hopes that you'll listen, really listen, because I need someone else to know. So, settle in, keep the lights on, and let me take you back to that night. It was late July, the air so hot and sticky it clung to your skin like a second shirt. I'd been at my buddy Jake's place, about 30 miles outside of town, drinking cheap beer and playing cards until the mosquitoes drove us inside. By the time I left, it was pushing 11 p.m., and I was bone-tired, but sober enough to drive. County Road 17 was my usual route home. Nothing but endless cornfields, the occasional sagging barn, and deer that'd leap out and make you swerve like a maniac. My truck's radio had been busted for months, so it was just me, the rhythmic hum of my tires, and the faint whistle of wind through the cracked window. I was halfway home when I glanced at my gas gauge. The needle was kissing the red, way lower than I'd realized. I cursed myself for not filling up at the Exxon in town. I had maybe 20 miles left in the tank, and the next station was a good 25 miles away. That's when I saw it, up ahead in the distance. A flickering neon sign, red and blue, spelling out gas in jagged letters. It looked like a mirage, shimmering in the heat, rising off the asphalt. I'd driven this road 100 times, and I'd never seen a gas station out here. But I wasn't about to look a gift horse in the mouth. I slowed down and pulled into the lot, my tires crunching on gravel that sounded too loud in the stillness. The station was a relic, like something out of a 1950s postcard gone to seed. The pumps were rusted, their hoses cracked and curling like dead snakes. The convenience store was a squat concrete box with windows so grimy they looked like they'd been smeared with grease. The neon sign buzzed overhead, its light stuttering, and a single moth kept throwing itself against it, making this soft, desperate tapping sound. There were no other cars, no trucks, no signs of life, except that flickering sign and the faint hum of cicadas in the cornfields across the road. I sat there for a second, engine idling, my hands gripping the wheel. Something about the place felt wrong, like the air was too heavy, like the shadows were watching me. But I was low on gas, and the thought of getting stranded out here was worse than whatever was giving me the creeps. So I cut the engine, grabbed my wallet, and stepped out. The air hit me like a wall, humid, thick with the smell of damp earth and something sweeter like rotting fruit. My boots scuffed the gravel as I walked to the pump, and I swear the sound echoed too long, like the night was swallowing it up and spitting it back. I swiped my card, but the pump screen just flashed, "Error, see cashier," in blocky red letters. I tried again, same thing. I glanced at the store and my stomach did a slow flip. The windows were so fogged up I couldn't see inside, but I felt like something was looking back at me. I told myself I was being paranoid, that I just needed to pay, pump, and get the hell out. I took a deep breath, squared my shoulders, and pushed open the door. A rusty bell jingled above me, sharp and jarring. and the smell inside hit me like a punch. Mold, stale cigarettes, and that same sickly sweet rot I'd caught outside. The store was dimly lit, the fluorescent lights buzzing and flickering like they were on their last legs. The shelves were a mess, half empty, stocked with off-brand chips, candy bars with wrappers so faded I couldn't read the names, and a few cans of soda that looked like they'd been there since the Reagan administration. Behind the counter was a guy, maybe in his 50s, hunched over a newspaper that looked yellowed and brittle. His name tag, pinned crooked on his stained flannel shirt, said Earl. He didn't look up, just kept scanning the paper with these slow, deliberate movements, like he was reading every word. His hair was thin and greasy, combed over a scalp that gleamed under the lights. "Pumps broke," he said, his voice like gravel scraped over concrete. "Cash only." I froze, caught off guard by how he hadn't even glanced at me, like he knew exactly who I was and why I was there. Okay, I said, fumbling for my wallet. "How much for 10 gallons? He finally looked up, and I wished he hadn't. His eyes were wrong. Too pale, almost gray, like cataracts had eaten them away. But he was staring right at me, through me, like he could see every thought in my head. His lips twitched, not quite a smile, and he said, $10. That was way too cheap, even for a dump like this, but my skin was crawling, and I just wanted to get out. I pulled out a 20, my hands clumsy, and slid it across the counter. He took it, his fingers brushing mine, ice cold and rough like sandpaper. He handed me change and coins, not bills. They were heavy, tarnished, with designs I didn't recognize, like they'd been minted in another century. I muttered a thanks, shoving them in my pocket, and turned to leave. That's when he grabbed my wrist. His grip was like a vice, so tight I gasped, and my heart slammed against my ribs. His face was inches from mine now, and I could smell his breath, sour, like spoiled milk. "Don't take the shortcut," he said, his voice low, almost a growl. "Stick to the main road." His eyes bored into mine, and for a second, I thought I saw something move behind them, like a shadow flickering in a storm. I yanked my arm free, stumbling back, and bolted for the door. The bell jingled again as I burst outside, the humid air a relief after the suffocating storm. I didn't look back, but I could feel Earl's eyes on me, burning into my back as I hurried to the pump. I filled my tank as fast as I could, the nozzle shaking in my hands. The whole time, that moth kept tapping against the neon sign, and the cicada's hum seemed to pulse, like a heartbeat in the dark. I was about to climb back in my truck when I heard it, a low, rhythmic thumping, like someone dragging a stick along the ground. It was coming from the cornfield across the road, steady and deliberate. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The thumping got louder, closer, and then I saw something move between the stalks. It was tall, too tall, its limbs jerking and swaying like a puppet with half its strings cut. It wasn't human. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't human. I scrambled into my truck, slamming the door so hard the window rattled. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the keys, fumbling under the seat to grab them. The thumping was right at the edge of the cornfield now, and there was this wheezing sound, like something trying to breathe through a throat full of mud. I jammed the key in the ignition, and the engine sputtered, coughed, refused to turn over. "Come on, you piece of junk," I yelled, slamming my fist on the dash. The wheezing was louder, closer, and I could feel it. Whatever it was right outside. The engine finally roared to life, and I floored it, tires screeching as I tore out of the lot. I didn't look in the rearview mirror, didn't dare, but I swear I felt something chasing me, like a shadow snapping at my heels. I drove for maybe a mile, my heart pounding so hard I thought it had burst, when I realized I'd made a mistake. In my panic, I'd taken a turn I didn't recognize, a narrow dirt path that cut through the cornfields. The shortcut Earl had warned me about. The path was barely wide enough for my truck, the corn stalks scraping the sides, their dried leaves hissing like whispers. My headlights barely cut through the dark, and the air grew colder, my breath fogging up the windshield. I tried to stay calm, told myself I'd hit the main road soon, but the path just kept going, twisting deeper into the fields. That's when my phone, which hadn't had service since I left Jake's, started buzzing in my pocket. I pulled it out, hands trembling, and the screen was glitching. Random numbers, letters, symbols flashing like it was possessed. Then it stopped, and a single word appeared in block letters. Run. My blood went cold. I tossed the phone on the passenger seat, gripping the wheels so tight my knuckles ached. The thumping was back, louder now. And it wasn't just one rhythm anymore. It was dozens, like a crowd of things moving through the corn, circling me. I floored the gas, but the truck wouldn't go faster than 20 miles an hour, like something was dragging it back, clawing at the undercarriage. In my rearview mirror, I saw them, shapes in the corn, keeping pace with me. They were tall, their limbs too long, their heads... God, their heads. They didn't have faces, just dark gaping holes where faces should be, like someone had carved them out with a knife. Their movements were jerky, unnatural, like stop-motion puppets brought to life. I was screaming now, praying, begging the truck to keep going. The air was freezing, my teeth chattering, and the corn seemed to close in tighter, the stalks bending toward the truck like they were alive. Up ahead, I saw a light. Not headlights, but something steady, warm, like a porch lamp cutting through the dark. It was a house, old and sagging, its paint peeling like dead skin. The path ended right at its front yard, a patch of dirt surrounded by corn. I didn't have a choice. I skidded to a stop, grabbed the tire iron from under the passenger seat, and ran for the door. The thumping was deafening, the wheezing so close I thought they were breathing down my neck. I pounded on the door, screaming for help, my voice hoarse and raw. The door creaked open, and an old woman stood there, her face so wrinkled it looked like a road map of pain. Her eyes were sunken, her hair thin and white, tied back in a loose bun. She didn't say a word, just grabbed my arm with surprising strength and pulled me inside, slamming the door behind us. The house was dark, lit only by a few candles that flickered on a wooden table. The air smelled like dust, mildew, and something sour, like old meat. She locked the door with a heavy bolt and whispered, "You shouldn't have come here." Her voice was brittle, like dry leaves. I tried to explain, words tumbling out about the gas station, the things in the corn, but she shushed me and pointed to the window. I looked out, and my knees nearly gave out. They were there, dozens of those faceless things, standing just beyond the porch, swaying in unison, like they were caught in a slow, silent dance. Their heads tilted, those black holes glinting in the candlelight, like they were listening, waiting. The woman handed me a glass of water, her hands trembling so bad the liquid sloshed over the rim. "Drink," she said. I was too scared to argue, so I took a sip. It tasted bitter, metallic, like rust mixed with something chemical. My head started to spin, the room tilting, and I realized too late that it wasn't water. The last thing I heard was her voice, soft and resigned. they'll leave by dawn. I don't know what I stumbled into that night. I don't know if it was a place, a thing, or some kind of trap. But I know they're still out there, and I know they haven't forgotten me. So, if you're ever driving on County Road 17 and you see a gas station with a flickering neon sign, don't stop. Don't slow down. And whatever you do, don't take the shortcut. Because once you do, there's no going back.